Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got a few people trying to get in right now, and let's see. I think we're ready to go. Today's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to talk to you guys about a scam warning that I was given by multiple lenders. They met in New York, and they're discussing how to handle what's happening, and I'm going to go over that with you and talk about another type of funding that you want to be kind of stay away from if you guys are out there taking contracts other than through Bank Breezy and David Allen Capital. So without further ado, let me share my screen. Okay, well, guys, I like to start every one of these Wednesday quick tip sessions with just kind of going over what the benefits of our marketing relationship between Bank Breezy and David Allen Capital really is all about. It's really a very beneficial relationship. We got the 100% online application process, and we're actually working behind the scenes to make this process even more easy to go through and quicker. And I think you're going to like what you see here soon. We provide the number one really success tool for small business people for your client base, and that's working capital. You guys, you can receive a commission. You receive it on a daily basis. If we get funded today, we pay you guys the very next day. Your requirement really is just to get the word out, however you want to do it, through your warm market, through Connect Cards, through any kind of advertisement that you do. And man, I'm telling you, the clients are coming back 4 to 6 times to get funding. This week, we've had just a really boatload of renewals through the system and lock draws as well. The scam fraud awareness that I want you to be aware of is one that's ongoing, and it's been negatively impacting our clients and the clients of our lender partners. The scam involves a ring of debt consolidation companies that are calling businesses offering to consolidate their payments into one easy to manage monthly sum. They're going to say that they can do this because they have long-standing good relationships with the business owners' creditors, and in exchange, they're going to ask for a moderate sum of $1,000 to $5,000 that they're going to supposedly hold in escrow while they negotiate their debt. Once the business owner makes this payment, they'll likely, in a lot of cases, just not hear from the debt consolidation company again. If they do hear, it's going to be to collect more funds that they say they need. They advise the business owner to sign a very official-looking power of attorney document advising them to stop the payments on all the working capital, daily and weekly payments, and to avoid all calls from this company, which is creating a default right there based on the agreement they signed. But the result is usually always the same. The consolidator never actually tries to settle the debt, or they may contact them, and the lender just aren't going to deal with them. The creditor, which is our lender partner, is unable to contact the business owner once they get that power of attorney. And sometimes these are just basically fake documents, but they give us the power of attorney. We can't call the client direct. So the creditor, which is our partner, is forced to take legal action against the business to enforce the contract. Now, the business owner is beholden to the original contract with our lender, which now includes an additional number of fees added for legal enforcement, such as a 25% provision for attorney fees, which is almost in every single agreement that we have. Of course, lastly, the consolidator is never to be heard from again, and the business owner is left alone to clean up the mess. And the moral to this is, if it sounds too good to be true, it isn't true. And remember, we always inform the business owner that their contract entitles them to certain rights if they experience a drop or a pause in revenue. So they just simply need to pick up the phone, contact either Bank Breezy or the lender directly, and once they do that, I'm telling you, 100% of the time, these lenders that we have are going to work with that client. We had one just in the last days that just has had a really downtake in their revenue because they thought they were going to be moving into another location. I mean, and sales really have been real down because they were trying to move. Well, all we did was either pause the payments or reduce the payments to a much, much lower amount while they're going through this process. It's all about communication. If you communicate, if these clients communicate with our lenders, this is way better than trying to do something like a debt consolidation, because you're going to find out in a few minutes why that is true. And here's a message that's actually going to be sent to all of the clients with one particular lender, which is Spartan Capital. They're going to incentivize with a bounty all the clients, and it's going to say, we've been attempting to gather as much information on this fraud ring as possible. And as an incentive, if you're contacted by one of these type of companies, or if you get a hold of some documentation and or procedures, we are offering a certain amount off of what their actual payback amount is for simply forwarding the email to the lender, and they're going to provide the lender information there as well. This is an actual complaint. I got several of them that is up on it's on the web, but it's also, I'm going to show you some BBB complaints. But it says, be very careful and do your research before using this company. We use them after they promised to save us 30 to 40% on interest. They get you to place stop payments on your ACH transactions with the lender, which, by the way, is a violation of the contract, and it automatically creates problems for them, by the way. Then they drag out the negotiations. It's a never-ending cost of thousands more. You then get hit with a default fee from the lender. So you put up the money, you put the money in escrow to the whole time, and nothing gets done. Then when you cancel, they keep the money and stating it goes to legal fees. They took almost $6K from us and added over $20,000 in new debt with default fees from the lenders. Just negotiate with the lender directly. That's all they will do. Also, we'll recommend you close your bank. They're going to recommend you close your bank account and open a new one to give them leverage, but that doesn't stop the lender from filing UCC filing. This has been a nightmare working with this company. We got two more here talking about absolutely scam artists that they don't do what they say they're going to do. And then this is a recent complaint that goes on and talks about what they promised that they were going to do and the money that they were going to save you and that sort of thing. But in reality, it winds up costing way more money because of the fact that it was really a default on all those. I mean, not just one, but if you don't go to a debt consolidation unless you stacked the lenders in the first place with 2 or 3 deals, which is not allowed in their agreement, but they just never enforce that. But now they're going to all come and enforce it. But here's our legal position on this. Once one of our lender partners fund a client, you submit through our online process as a broker agent. You're not allowed to even encourage or participate in introducing them to any kind of debt consolidation company. Bank Breezy will then inform our lender partners of the activity if this does happen. And you're not allowed to stack one of our funded clients with another lender, which Bank Breezy didn't approve. In other words, if you're out there and you've got a lot of contracts with other places and you start stacking deals that you get with us, we're going to let the lenders know who you are, and then they can do whatever they do. And then I'm going to let David Allen Capital know what's going on. And if this will be totally up to David what he decides to do there. And if he's on, I'm sure he'll comment. But these are just policies that we can't stand for. This debt consolidation is happening rampant all throughout the industry. I was talking to Spartan Capital, and just last week, a client took $15,000 from them, and immediately when the money was wired in, they closed their bank account. They got a debt consolidation company to immediately send a letter to them, and these people never made a payment, so you couldn't get the money back out. And now they've changed bank accounts, so it's running, it's everywhere out there, and that's the problem. The second thing I want to talk to you about is what's called a reverse consolidation funding. Some brokers are taking upon themselves to enter our clients into reverse consolidation programs. Now, the client has no idea just how destructive this can be because they're never told what this can and will do to their financial situation after this type of funding occurs. A reverse consolidation program is actually another MCA, guys. The MCA company will advance payments directly to the client's current MCA funders for the current cost of several MCA deals the client's paying on. But the client does not receive any funds directly on this deal. And instead, after about 3 or 4 months, the debt consolidate, the reverse consolidation company has been paying on to get these things paid off. And now you gotta pay the piper. You got to start paying the reverse consolidation companies themselves. And now what you've done is let's say that they had 100,000 in debt out there that was being paid off by this reverse consolidation company. You're paying all the cost of those funds. Let's say it was 40 to 45% they paid for that money. Now they're getting money that's paying off that they got to pay another 40 to 45 because you're never going to get this stuff cheaper than these types of fundings. Again, it's legal in the industry, but it's really bad for the client because, quite frankly, the business owner just doesn't know a couple of things. Number one, they don't understand they're taking another MCA and that they're going to have to pay the cost on top of cost. So they're going to be paying double cost of funds on all that stuff that's being paid back, and then they got a cost of funds to pay back what they're borrowing. After they pay it down for 3 or 4 months, they got the same debt they had before. They just took the pain away for a little bit of time. Most lenders will not allow new funding for I don't know one that will for any business that's currently in one of these types of deals. Plus, the business owner misses a payment at all to these reverse consolidations, then quite frankly, they can just do a balloon payment and say, a balloon default and say, listen, you missed payments, you owe us all this money. It's just not a good way to do business. We had a DAC agent that actually did one of these to a California client. Fortunately, the client called me and she said, I didn't understand that I'm not getting this new money. It's just, they just paying this off and I got to pay all this back. And I explained to her that I'm not giving her legal advice, but here's what you might want to do, because I didn't want them to go out and sue the broker that did it, because I think the broker was just not aware of what this was really all about. They were looking at trying to get another commission outside of what they were doing. And anyway, the bottom line is that the lady was able to give back the cost of some payments that the reverse consolidation company did. They were a real legitimate company, so they let her out of the agreement. We wound up a few months later getting them more money and the agent won on that deal, but it's not always going to be that simple. So that's pretty much. Let me just stop the share. I don't really have anything else to talk about. This is not me out trying to scare you. It's actually me just warning you that I get calls every week. As a matter of fact, I got one from someone who was tied to David Allen Capital and Bank Breezy for a while, and they wanted me to enter a contract with a debt consolidation company. Said, think about this, all these people you funded, now you can put them into this, it's going to help the company. And they didn't really understand, and I never could convince them that it was not a good deal. So I'm not going to try. So anyway, David, are you on? Do you want to make any comments? If you are, if not, I'll take questions.
I would like to make a comment. Great stuff, Wade. Thanks for sharing this. And like Wade said, guys, this is, maybe it hasn't happened to any of your clients, but the more clients you get, the more odds are they're going to hear from something like this. So it's part of our job of setting expectations and preparing them for this type of activity out there. You know, Wade just gave the example of, I want to show this. He said, let's say you get $100,000. Maybe you're paying back $130 originally. one of these consolidation company comes on, these reverse companies, and say, hey, we'll help you pay that 130, and they charge 50% of that 130, they're going to add $65,000 to that. Now you're up to 195 you're going to have to pay back for that original 100 to have a little ease on your payment for a little while. You're paying all that extra, more than the original funder's getting, and all they're doing is covering your payment for a little while, and you're going to pay 50% of whatever you owe back. So it's easier, like Wade said, just call back the original funder, say, hey, we're going through a tough time. And they'll look at your bank statements and they'll say, okay, you really are. They're not trying to take your last penny from you. They'll work on things to make it fit, and they'll review your bank statements every week if they have to make sure that they're getting themselves protected without killing you. These people are not interested in protecting your business. They've got a story to sell, and they're trying to make all this 65 grand without having to give anything up front, just pay a payment every week or every day. So don't fall victim to that. Prepare your team that if they ever have an issue, to call you, to call Bank Breezy if they ever have an issue. They don't want to get outside help. The current funders, their best help. Secondly, there's predators. If you can imagine out there, we say we're marketing clean fuel, not bad debt, right? That's what we're all about. We're all about making sure that if we're giving someone money, it's to help them grow their business, not strap them down with debt where they need help, right? But sometimes they get into a bad situation. If they do, call Wade. I've had my own clients talk to Wade who've talked to providers and helped get a modified payment for 2 months, 3 months, 2 weeks, whatever it is, and still get them renewal later. The lenders don't even hold that against them because they appreciate the communication. So sometimes they'll be a little more reserved on renewals, and they'll check things a little more. But the reality is, Wade, isn't that true that even when people compromise their payment, if it's communicated, it doesn't even necessarily stop them from getting renewals in the future?
Yeah, it doesn't even go on the record anywhere. It's when they cut off all communication. We just had that happen with someone, as you know, David, that cut off all communications right after getting the funding, and it went into legal. But fortunately for us, we got a great relationship with the lender, and this was a pretty decent. This was like a $45,000 funding, and now we got them working on track to make the payments, and the lender's happy. But and the lender won't hold that against them as long as they don't do something like that again and stay in communication with them.
Yeah, I think that the critical thing here is every one of these agreements, folks, if you haven't seen one yet, they all have strict, severe penalties if someone takes this money and then violates the terms, like closing your bank account, like losing communication, like trying to renegotiate with outside lenders. And like Wade talked about on that slide, they shut off. They tell you to close your bank account. They tell you to not make payments. These are the consolidation companies. They tell you not to do that because they say, hey, they won't negotiate with you until you do. But what they don't tell you is by doing that, you're triggering fees. Sometimes it's hundreds per day. Sometimes it's a percentage of the advance. Sometimes you do things like violate you shutting a bank account off. That's committing fraud. That is fraudulently, purposely stopping someone from getting. It's like changing the name of your car into someone else's name when someone else has a title. It'd be like title theft. You're choosing to move that asset called the bank account, which was put up to pay it back, to move it to someone else's name or in a different bank name. That's called fraud. And so there's a lot of penalties in these agreements to do that. These companies don't tell people that. So it's probably only happened to, I don't know, a couple dozen of our companies. How many would you say this has really happened to, Wade?
Oh, not even that many, but it's it's happening throughout the industry like wildfire. Not necessarily with our clients. Mm-hmm. We've only had one or two, but they are getting them on a mass basis. You know, a lot of lenders met in New York City a couple of weeks ago. So they're in there and they see in the room, they see some people they don't recognize. And one of them said, yeah, I'm a lender, blah, blah, blah. They looked him up, and he's one of the executives of a debt consolidation company, just wanting to see what the industry's thinking about all this. So they can combat any kind of negative press toward that. I mean, listen, there are legitimate debt consolidation companies out there. There are a lot of them that are legitimate. But if you're gonna do it, you just gotta know what the consequences are.
And the reality is the legitimate ones are the ones who are given the money. The ones given the money are the best debt consolidation companies because they're willing to compromise. They've already got their money on the street with you and with your clients, and they would rather work a payment out with you than have you go this route. They don't want to get legal involved. They got to pay for all that. They don't want to have to chase you down for collection. They'll do it if they have to, but they don't want to. They'd rather say, okay, we'll lower your payment from $82 a day to $22 a day for the next 2 weeks. And let's look at it 2 weeks from now. I mean, they'll do like this for you. So this is really what the message from all this is. And thank you, Wade, for putting that presentation together. It's tremendous. This is really education for all of us as agents who are talking to clients we have a relationship with, to prepare them, to inform them up front. If you ever have an issue, reach out to us. We'll do everything we can to get the payment lowered, paused, modified, whatever. They're very agreeable to that. Don't hire an outside company. That'll trigger every legal fee in your contract. Don't do it. Deal directly with Bank Breezy and the funder, and they'll go to bat. Wade, personally, I've called him with some of my clients. He goes, let me call him right now. He'll, instead of the client even calling the funder, he says, I'll call him for you right now. So we prefer the funder call direct, or the client call the funder direct. They don't need to go through Wade, but you can tell people, hey, Bank Breezy, part of our remarkable experience is we want to take care of you as a customer. And if you're confused, you're unsure, you need to reach out to your point of contact at Bank Breezy, go ahead, and they'll help work this out, whether it's a point of contact or making a call with you. Fair enough, Wade? Is that all accurate?
That's perfectly accurate. Exactly. I think we just got a couple questions.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's go to Barbara first. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, good morning. I'm very new to DAC, and I'm located in Canada, and I have a few questions because I've been trying to look at the training and some of the stuff in the back office, but I'm a bit confused. And I have two people for funding. One is Canada-based, the other is US-based. So my question is for the one that is US-based. They're looking to buy 3 properties in Illinois from the same individual. Can they get, do you do portfolio lending? So can they get one money for all 3 because it's going to the same person?
Well, first of all, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Sorry, go ahead. Answer. You can go ahead and answer.
Yeah, well, first of all, we're not funding real estate. We are revenue-based funding. It has nothing to do with that you're going to take that money and do this, that, and the other. What it has to do with is if you're doing a certain amount of revenue, we're going to give you a certain amount of money, anywhere from 50 to 200% of what you're doing on a monthly basis. But when you're in these industries where, like in the real estate industry, where they got revenue and they're flipping houses, it's tough to even get 100% of what they're doing monthly. It's going to be closer to 50 to 75. So we're not going to look at property values and that sort of thing. And I'll let David, if you want to say anything else about that as well, because I think I think you've already announced that we're going to stop marketing soon in the asset base.
Yeah, I would say that you can use the revenue-based funding to do anything you want with it, but you have to qualify for the revenue with current revenue in your current business. And it can get a real low as 25% of your monthly revenue, all the way up to 200% of monthly revenue. Depends on what your business is doing. So check out the quick reference sheets in your back office. And then also, asset back is going away in less than 2 weeks, but that's not even for new purchases anyway. That's for really borrowing against your current property that you already own.
Okay. So so I have, the person also has a business in Canada, which is doing about $37K a month. So I'm wondering, can they use that company to borrow can they use that company to borrow and use the money for their purchases?
Well, the thing though, you gotta understand, if they're trying to buy properties that are a couple $100,000, they're not gonna get any more. And in Canada, you're not gonna get over 100% of what you're doing on a monthly basis. You're just not. We don't have any lenders that, and we picked up 2 new lenders in Canada, but Canadian folks are gonna only get about anywhere from 50 to 100% of what they're doing monthly in revenue.
So just so everyone knows, if you're doing 37,000 a month in revenue, you're only going to get approved for 18 to 37. That's all you're going to get approved for. So if that's enough to do what they want to do in their business, go for it. But if that's not going to get them there, they shouldn't even apply if they need more than that.
Yep.
All right. And next up, we have Paul F. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Paul.
Hello, Wade.
Hey,
I have 2 questions. How do you fund cash-only businesses?
cash only businesses?
Yes.
We can if all the money goes through the bank account, but you can't. I mean, it's strictly the money that flows through the bank account. It's the only thing that's going to count. It's not, if you got a PayPal account and it doesn't go through the bank account, it's not going to work. If you got cash and you're not putting it through the bank account, you're keeping that cash, that's not going to count toward revenue. So I hope that answered your question.
Okay, so they have to have like a business account?
They have to have a business account all the time with us, unless they're going for up to 10,000 in 10 minutes or less. They have to have a business that they're putting money into. It could be their personal checking account, but that's not going to go through it's not going to go through all of our lender process. It's going to be going directly with our up to 10K in 10 minutes or less.
Okay. My second question is there a difference, at least in terminology, between merchant cash advance and revenue-based funding?
Yeah, it's funny. We talk about that a lot, and I talk to the lenders about it. Throughout the years, merchant cash advance had that term started really toward getting advances on merchant services on your credit card processing, and that's how it all began. But it's being used throughout the entire industry and has been for years, meaning that any type of advance that you get on revenue. So they're really one and the same, but it just depends on the situation and the lender that you're dealing with, whether or not they even use that terminology. But merchant cash advance was actually labeled for cash advance off of your merchant services, but now they use it unilaterally, even with ACH debiting. Okay, I think that's everybody. Listen, I really appreciate you guys being on again today. We'll try to come up with something exciting to talk about next Wednesday, and we'll let David know. In the meantime, you guys have a blessed and great day. David, are you saying bye, or you want to?
Just waving bye. Thank you, buddy.
Okay. See you guys.